Hello, everybody. Welcome to our next OvalEdge Lives. We're going to be talking about career paths in data governance today. My name is Kayla, and we would love to know where you're tuning in from. Also, what time zone, because we've got a pretty big time difference between everybody who is currently here today. So we'll start off with some introductions. I will go first if that's okay with everybody, because we're going to introduce ourselves and then we're going to talk about our careers leading up to us working in data governance from the get-go. And I certainly don't want to be after Theresa or Sharad. All righty. I'm Kayla. So I worked in a customer service job until I finally got my degree in writing. And then I work as a technical writer here at OvalEdge.
Cool. So I'm Ashwant. So I'm joining in from Hyderabad, India. It's 8:30 p.m. here, and I'm working as a digital marketing executive in OvalEdge here.
Theresa.
Hi, I'm Theresa Ancick from Accurate Business Services, and it is about 11 o'clock here in Michigan, U.S., and I have been working in data governance for the past 6 years and enjoying it.
Lovely. And then Sharad.
Hi, I'm Sharad, and I'm speaking from Hyderabad today and enjoying the time here. It's been my 6th day, I think, 7th day here, and it's good food. And the data governance field, I'm working in data field for more than 10 years, but in data governance field, I'm working because of the necessity. So because our product works in data governance field, so that's the reason. First time I realized when we built the product that actually solves data governance problem. So then we started learning about data governance and what exactly the problem it solves, and then we kind of started maturing more about data governance at that point of time. So that's the journey I have it.
So yeah, let's begin the session. So Sharad and Teresa, like if we were to explain a new technology or a new term to a college student, let's suppose it's AI or machine learning. So we can tell some examples, like take an example of self-driving car or a robot. So these are the applications that we can build with artificial intelligence. So similarly, like if we were to explain data governance to a college students, how we actually do that? So how can you explain simply a data governance to a college student who is just started studying in the college?
Sharad?
Okay, so I can go first. It's tough because let me take it very example, right? So when you have you have countries, right? The countries like United States, you have India, you have Syria, you have many countries out there, right? When they want to put together some structure somewhere, they have government, right? They have government, and then they have a government, and what the government do, they govern. They write policies, procedures, they make sure they're enforced, and because of that, the good thing can happen, the good innovation can happen, etc. So similar to that, if the country is well governed like US, you have a lot of innovation is happening, the country is progressing, etc., etc. A lot of things are happening, economy is good, people are happy, or Denmark or whatever. And or you have country like Syria or somewhere, Yugoslavia or whatever, where a lot of corruption is there, a lot of problems are there, people are not working properly, the governance, no structure is there, then there's no innovation is happening, the people are not happy, etc., etc. So whenever there is a data groups, data AI, in order to facilitate AI, in order to facilitate anything, like let's say AI, you need data. Without data, AI doesn't work, right? And if the data is need to be structured, need to be properly facilitated through this, and so one person cannot create AI. If somebody is thinking, well, I will run data AI and I will be able to be a super rock star, no, it doesn't work. You need a team of people to work through it. And the team of people need to be worked in a very governed, in a very structured manner. And it's a nice, and not only team of people, it need a business people, it need a technical people, it need the compliance people, it need a IT people to work together. Everybody need to work together. And that's why you need the policies and framework to work together. And that's what the data governance does. And that's what the data governance is, frankly speaking. That's my, I hope it explains.
Yeah. I had to chuckle when I first saw the question come up because I think 2 years ago, I was driving back from Nashville with my daughter, who is a college student, and she said, "Mom, what exactly do you do? Because I just don't know how to explain it." Unfortunately for her, she was trapped in a car with me for 13 hours. And she was very interested and engaged, though. She asked me a lot of questions about it. And I was explaining to her that, I've been working with data for 30 years, and I started in data warehousing, and we were solving that problem. But the data scientists were still complaining because their science wasn't coming out properly. And the business users, the data consumers, were still complaining because I asked the same question to 3 people. I get 3 different answers. And I shared with her how a lot of times somebody will put in a report request and it goes to a business analyst and they say, okay, I want this and this, and then I should get puppets. And the business analyst goes and finds the data, and then between the 2 of them, they decide on the term and where they're pulling the data from, which exacerbates the problem because you've got different people with different perspectives asking for data and coming up with very similar terms or different metrics for what something is. So when you go in and you do a study on their BI assets, you often come up with the same term, 6 different sources, 3 different metrics, and this is why people were losing confidence and data scientists were not happy with the results that they were pulling because they knew they were skewed. So we started thinking there's got to be a better way to handle this data as an asset to the organization. And that's really what data governance is. It's finding the data from its inception into the organization where we define what it is and we're handling it like an asset. And then what is the best standard for monetizing that and bringing it through our organization? And what is the best understanding of this for all the individuals who are going to be consuming it? So it's quite a different perspective. It's a shift from that, I need a report, go get me this and this and this, to kind of like, that's what that is. And you can't call it anything else. So we're meticulously setting that data down as an asset and enveloping it with security, quality, handling, source, calculations, and taking a full 360-degree walk around it. And that's not just for the data warehouse, it's from the inception of the data. So if I had to explain what data governance is to a college student, that's the abridged version. I'll have to ask my daughter later how she felt about getting the lengthy version trapped in a car with me.
I'm sure it was still a lovely conversation, though.
She changed her major when she got back from that trip, though. So
and that worked. It worked. And those are really great answers, both Sharad and Theresa. And I think that we can drill down even just a little bit deeper and talk about why is data governance important and why every organization needs it.
Sharad?
Yeah, so I can come on that. Okay, so if you are a chief data officer, for example, right? Or it's a data science, if you're running a data science group, or if you're running any AI group, or you want to do more and more of that, right? So the one thing is needed in this area is you need a data science, you need analytics, right? That is, I consider, and you are building a strategy for data, right? So those I consider as a offense, like offense of my play. And then you need to protect the data. You need to make sure this data is secure, right? That is the one part. Then you need to make sure that when the data is coming up, it's highly quality. The quality is good. And then you also need to make sure it's trustworthy. When I say trustworthy, I really mean that because you are making millions of dollar decisions on it. I will give you some examples then where we use trillions of dollar decision and use on the bogus data. I will come back to that. And those is a defense. area of a strategy. So one is offense is data science, data engineering. That's offense because this is directly value you create, and the defense is data governance, data protection, um, and security of it, compliance side of it. Because okay, you create it phenomenally, and you are a breach, and suddenly all the funding of the CDO group will go down immediately because they didn't protect the data, right? Or suddenly you have a GDPR breach, right? So then suddenly why you're doing this kind of thing. So those things you have to protect it because ultimately you have to protect it as well. So that is the protection part really, and the the real value come from the data science, data engineering, reporting. That is where the value is, and this is the defense part. But it does not mean that like it's also made to be the trust of the data. Trust is a major component. Whenever I'm seeing some number, it is really that number, or is it not making sense of that? So I will give you one example that when I say that why the data is so important and governance is important. When we were in the middle of pandemic, right? Middle of the pandemic, uh, Donald Trump was president. He was charged of taking care of everything, right? He said that hydrochloric didn't work, right? And you might remember that we had this politics around it. Oh, open, eat this medicine. On the other side, the doctors were saying, no, do not eat this medicine, right? It doesn't work. And we say, where are you getting this data point doesn't work? And the doctor said, all the doctors community said, look, this is a research paper, came out of very renowned journal, 200-year-old journal, published the research paper, which came out from there, right? The research paper was conducted, and they have gathered the data from 700 different hospitals and gathered around very quickly. But when they looked at the data, and they found the data was collected by a company has procured that data from 700 plus different hospitals, and the number of employee in that company is one, and that works in sales and marketing group. A policymaker is making trillions of dollar policy decisions. They're opening up trillions of dollar. A Fed is working. This is a decision-making process of trillions of dollar decision making, and the funding of that, the decisions was there on that study, which was completely on the data, which was how can a one-person company who works in that can collect 700 different hospitals' data and put it in the system? How can it possible, right? That the whole, they have to retract the paper. They have to literally retract the paper. We still don't know whether hydrochloroquine work or not, right? By the way, but at that time, the medical community was able to bring down Trump, who was the president of the country. Although we may like him or not, but if you think about it, that perspective. So that is how much the data governance is needed for every organization. That organization would not have to be shamed like that if they have data governance processes in place. You cannot do that. So these are I would consider this to be the highest example, one of the highest example of this, which is publicly available. All this information is there. So that's the importance of why it's so important, the data governance is.
Anything to add, Theresa?
I think that companies are realizing quickly that organizations that have evolved in their data governance are gaining a competitive advantage over their peers. I think they're able to make faster decisions more confidently. I think they're able to create their predictive analytics more confidently and then act on it, which makes them able to pivot and maintain their competitive edge. I think it's extending the life cycle of organizations as well. And so I think a lot of them are waking up to the fact that data governance is to data what the evolution of debit and credit accounting is to finance. I think that individuals that have ever worked in an organization that has data governance, if they leave that organization and go to another organization that doesn't have it, they're like, oh my gosh, you don't realize how good you have it. And you guys really need to get, and they end up being, big advocates for bringing data governance there and evangelizing it as well. So I think that one of the most important reasons is for an organization is for the baseline, the health and well-being of the organization.
Thanks for those
Absolutely.
detailed answers. Cool. Like before joining OvalEdge, like I googled a lot about data governance, and often like I confused a lot with similar terms like data management, data science, and like I believe most of the people who are new to data governance will also face this confusion. So what's exactly the difference between data governance and data management, and like where does this data science fit in?
Teresa, you want to start this first?
Sure. Data governance, I remember when I went to one of my first conferences in Boston and they said, should data governance be in your IT department or on the business side or in compliance? And the answer is yes. Data governance should be wherever it gains traction and footing. And data governance provides the conduit for all of the other dimensions of data management to contribute to and draw from the governance pond, if you will. It allows the business to come to the table and share the business process. Who's putting it in? This is what the data means to us when we take it in from its source. And you yoke that with a data custodian that says, this is how many times this term appears on our reports. And it's got two different ways we're calculating it. And then they all come together and talk about the security and everything else. So you've got a full, robust conversation, and you've drawn all of that tribal knowledge into a shareable application so that no matter what your vantage point, you will be able to get in and see what you need. And that gains capacity back for everyone. I know in the beginning it feels like an added thing, but when you get over that hill, you're getting a lot of your capacity back. Developers don't have to go find the data anymore. We've posted it with reusable code, and we're not trying to figure out how to handle it and so forth. So you've got everything being organized. So it really is the conduit, the glue that creates the transparency among the dimensions of data governance.
I will explain it by a simple term called governance and management. Then we have not seen for example, when we talk about governance, we always talk about government, right? It came from government, governance, etc., etc. And management is very simple. Management is policies are written, the CEOs, or generally the CEOs we consider as the leaders, but generally the middle management we consider it, right? The management people. So we generally consider them, okay, they are the management people. That means that they work in the defined limitations, defined scope of the problem, whether this is a data IT scope. So that is the management is always about when the scope is defined, when things are defined, but do it nicely and correctly. That's good management can do things nicely and correctly, right? It create the operational efficiency, right? That's what the good management can do it. That's bringing when the policies are there, procedures are there, making sure everything is kind of nicely done. That's what the management does. While on the governance side, government can do major changes by writing the right policy, by bringing the right initiatives, by putting the right money and right resources, right? The government can make a much more bigger impact in any part of the countries and organization than management people can do it. Or if you think about it, if you see very simply, there is executive council, the legislative council. The legislative council is more about governance, while executive is more about management, right? Thing of things. That's from the word between the management and the governance. Now you bring data to it. Data management is something is mostly IT focused, as Theresa said. When the things are there very much laid out, IT kind of take this and then put it into this. Okay, I'm putting the security there, and then whatever things are there. Maybe generally business is not involved with that much data management. I may be wrong here. If some business functions might be there for data management side of it, is like generally compliance is not that much involved. They give you that this you have to do it, then IT, there's one person is there, okay, this let me do the management, let me take care of that. While governance, you have to bring compliance, IT, business together, make some committees, make some recommendations, make some policies, make some decisions, which is for everyone, which is benefits everyone. figure out how to get this going, because this is a new field. We are the AI didn't exist before. We want to leverage more AI, but we want to make sure the AI is ethical. We want to make sure the reporting is correct. We want to make sure that when the revenue we are reporting, it's not out leaked somewhere before. Otherwise, somebody can do the trading, and the CEO might get arrested for insider trading, right? So there is a lot of things which you have to manage that part of it. The companies have a lot of confidential data which they have to protect. So all these things need to be, what need to be protected, what not needs to be protected. The business need to tell what need to be protected. IT doesn't know. IT know how to protect it, but they don't know what to protect, what is confidential, what is not confidential. That the business need to tell, right? The revenue number may be confidential, or maybe it may not be. It depends upon the company to company. If you're IPO company, public listed company, revenue number is confidential. So if you're a private company, probably not. It's okay, right? Maybe the lead number of leads is not confidential, but if you are creating a guideline to your business, then the number of leads maybe the becomes the confidential, because the number of leads can give you the number of guidelines, and the guidelines can give you they give you the marks to the insider trading, and insider trading can give you the number, right? So this all things are dependent. Business need to tell, the CFO need to tell what is important, what is not, right? So that's where the finance and something. So the management, IT can very easily protect it. Okay, you give me the number of lead need to protect it, I will protect it. You tell me who can see the data, I can do that. Like that's what the management can do it. Governance is much more larger, bigger picture, more collaboration picture, I would say bigger picture, more collaborative part of it. What needs to be done? Management, okay, you told me, I will do that way. That's how I understand that.
I absolutely
And
love the picture that you
I would also
painted.
mention here is that one thing I also mention here is the both word are still misunderstood. And the one of the irony is the data governance, the one of the main objective of the data governance is to really define the terms and its definitions. That Teresa is very knowledgeable in that area and the whole thing. But the whole data governance community could not define the word data governance. People use it for security, people use it for different reasons. That's the irony
We
of
need
it.
to cover the term data
And
governance.
yeah, that's one of the reason I'm saying that let's understand the management and governance, and that's what I try to put it together. That's how I understand it. and and that's, but people, I can argue, I can guarantee says that people will have a difference. No, this is not data governance, what you are
Yeah.
telling me, what others are saying. They will come up with their own definition as well. So this will happen, and that's the fun.
As a strategist, that's one of the first things I do when I go into a new client is I level set the understanding of what data governance is and identify the drivers. Because you'll find that some people have wildly different ideas of what data governance is.
Yeah, these explanations are more clear than Google.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I love the picture that you painted, Sharad, of just the largeness of the scope of data governance, because you really are pulling from so many different areas, which fits very nicely into our next question, which is what kind of education backgrounds do we see that help support roles in data governance?
What kind of education can support? The education should be mostly around if you are working in a BI group, data group somewhere, it's a good field to come into data governance at that point of time. If you are any working in the data part of it, you can come into the data because you know the problem exists, and that is the something you can come. There's no official degree in data governance field. We are creating academy where we are teaching all the part of it with very practical knowledge, how to do step by step kind of thing. You can go there, you can get the certification, and that's something, you are working. Teresa is working, everybody is working in that area, kind of bring the academy part of all this knowledge, which is very video format, right? So you can take the certification, learn about data governance. That's the education background. You can read some books. Books will mostly confuse you rather than give you a lot of ideas, but it will give you one perspective opinion, one person's opinion most of the time. I have literally not liked any book in data governance field personally. Teresa liked lots of books, so I think so. But I personally have, the most of the books have confused me more and I can have a lot of discussion with every author in this world about data governance. Nobody have given me a very comprehensive view of the data governance. None of the book have given me, and I've read almost all the books. And maybe I have not read correctly. I may be wrong in that area. But education is again, that's the, if you have that role, you'll have lived the problem. You read some books, read the academy, learn about from academy, let the understand the larger perspective, and academy can give you step by step. Frankly, just do these kind of things. It's like to-do list. So you can take the to-do list, you can do the data governance work, and then you get a job in data governance field. It's a hot field right now.
So coming soon to Amazon, Data Governance, written by Sharad.
I will not write a book in data governance because I will become like my one person opinion.
Right. I have enjoyed watching the evolution. I got into data warehousing very early on, as it was an emerging technology, and it was I just love living in that space, because even with data warehousing, there was multiple. Some people flattened a view out and thought they had a warehouse. And so I was able to just really dig in and see all of the different evolutions of data warehousing. And I feel like it's come up again with data governance. And I think that's why I gravitated to it, because I just love when I can get on the cusp of an emerging technology or concepts. And so I do a lot of reading, and it is true that they are one person's perspective, but I've gained a lot of insight as a result of that, because you're comparing and contrasting. For the first few years, I thought, oh, I'm really doing it differently, because I was taking a pragmatic approach of looking at the consumption layer of your data and saying, these are your important terms, and then where is it coming from, and kind of working backwards into a policy. And then you create your policy. It gives you more context to creating that policy. And then you put everything that's not following it into the backlog. But I wasn't reading anything about that. I wasn't seeing it in black and white. Everything I was reading said, you top down data governance, you create your policy and you govern your policy. And then everything is going to get in alignment with that policy. And so once your policy is done, it's somebody else's problem to figure out what that is. It kind of dropped me off. And then I read, I think Laura Matson's Disrupting Data Governance. And I was like, oh, finally, somebody who it was so validating. I was like, yes, this is how I do it. There's somebody else out there who's making the same realizations. And it's good to keep reading, because it gives you also a perspective of a lot of different platforms, data challenges, techniques, and trips. So even though it's one person's perspective, and I read the book cover to cover and I don't agree with any of it, it gives me really good food for thought. The latest one that I'm reading is the Data Lineage from a Business Perspective, which is hot off the press right now. So I'm usually reading about a book a week on the topic. I'm weird that way, but aside from that, the other education that's helpful, because there's different roles in data governance. There's the data steward, a data custodian, the administrator, the spinning up data committees, working as a data governance support person. So there's different roles. And I agree 100% with Sharad that coming from a business analyst background or a BI, business intelligence analyst background, can really lend itself well to maturing into a data governance role.
Adding to the Kayla's question, if people want to shift their roles to data governance, so what are some of the related fields where people have the chance to move from to data governance?
I think that data architects have a really good background in understanding the flow of the data and the importance of the handling of the data. And so they, if they're looking at doing something that's more customer facing, where they're able to connect with multiple departments in both business and technology. I think data architects make great data governance individuals. I used to tell people when I was in data business intelligence that I got paid to do puzzles all day because I was tenacious about tracking down problems, data problems. So if you're in a role right now where you are tracking down quality, reporting quality, looking at that, where you have to kind of be able to go through that lineage and you're tenacious and enjoy the process, you will be great in data governance.
I will extend that further, that thought. I think this is exactly the right thought. The only advice I have for data architect, that because I came from the data architecture, I'm very technical person. I used to be programmer and then I moved on moved up the chain. Um, just learn more business aspect of it. Generally, IT people do not know that much business. Again, I used to be there, so that's why I'm telling. If you're a data architect, learn the business side of it. And it's something, oh, this is so simple. No, it's simple, but the process is complex. You need to learn that, right? So the IT people generally have arrogance about their IT thing, and they do not understand the simplicity of the business, how much is matter, right? So that's the part, the simplicity, when you something look like, but it's much more complex. The same thing I will advise to the business people, that don't say, oh, this is a magic happening. Learn a little bit about that as well. Learn this lineage, how goes there. It's not a magic. It's if you put your thought together, it will work. Also, for the everybody, learn compliance. It's important to learn compliance as well, because if you don't learn it, it will beat you.
It will learn
It
you.
will really, it will it will bite you, right? So these are important things to learn, and that's why the data governance role is a very it's a holistic view. You have to have a holistic view. So, and obviously person will come from one of the area, and the one thing is that do not focus on your area. You learn other areas. You can come from the compliance side, you can do data governance. You can, mostly people come from the business side, the data warehousing side. Mostly people come from the data warehousing, business analyst, data engineer, data architects. Those are the people who really comes in data governance management, data governance side. But I would just advise them to learn business, business processes. How does it work? How it need to be there? I personally feel a couple of people who came into data warehousing used to be the ERP experts. Those are very good area as well. The people who have implemented ERP systems, although it is not related to that much data, but they understand the business processes and the technology part of it. They understand databases and those kind of things. It's a very good area for them also to come into the data governance field. They can be very good successful people,
Right.
in that.
Agreed.
And I feel like that's just good life advice in general that you were touching there on, Sharad, is of just like always learning and just that hunger to learn more outside of what you currently know, which that is a huge part of OvalEdge Academy. And I thought that we could pull that up and just show people what they can do with Academy and just some other resources that they can go to learn more about data governance. So I will pull up the screen share real quick, guys. Sharad, would you like to lead us into a little adventure over here at OvalEdge Academy? Just explain what's going on and what people can expect from it.
Okay, so this is Academy, right? So Academy is supposed to teach you what exactly happens into any system. So it's very easy to get into it. You simply write your username and you don't even have to type your password. You just write your email and then you get into it, right? That is a good part about it. I really like it. Then we have various chapters in it. Data governance 101. So the one thing is that although we create this OvalEdge tool, but this is nothing about OvalEdge. This is really about data governance. How do you do data governance? It's nothing about product in general. It's like you can do data governance using spreadsheet, although it don't scale it, but you can do it. So this is how we teach. If you have a 5 people organization, or 5 people, not like a small company, if you want to do data governance, you can do a spreadsheet as well. But it tells you the concepts of the data governance. How do you do it, right? So it starts from what is data governance to the drivers of the data governance. Means that drivers means why are you starting the data governance? why, so there may be a compliance reason, there may be a business reason, the trust reason, there may be you are a you are going to compliance reason. So those are the reason for doing this. Then we have created something called a progressive framework. Framework is that how does the framework work to do the data governance, and then we have this something called progressive maturity model. Is like how do you measure your data governance? The maturity of the entire data, all of your data ecosystem. How do you learn it? And then various roles is needed in this one, and how do you do the committee meetings? So you can keep, committee meetings is around. It's a very complex subject. Why I say the complexity? Oh, this is just a meeting. No. See, for example, again, go to the government principle. How much homework is done when you put together a policy framework in a system. If you don't put a homework, your proposal will not going to go through in any work. So how do you do your homework? What kind of things you have to do in order to go to the committee so that they can ultimately take a decision. And you have to also select that, you have to find the causes of it, what causes, those kind of things. And how do you really lay out the committee meetings? What kind of homework you should do it? Those kind of ideas are there. And there's a lot of practical knowledge is there around this implementation part of it. The one part I would say that it's about data governance, but the knowledge is very practical and pragmatic, and we have actually implemented it many places. So that's the power of this is. And plus, we are not only one person, we are a whole company. So we kind of learn through this over implementation, so many places, and that's where the knowledge comes from. So it's a very knowledgeable kind of how do you run the committee meetings. Then after that, there is also some questionnaires to get certifications for almost everywhere. So that's the table of content of this, but it's again data governance 101. Everything about that we want to know from it.
Exactly, and I love that it encompasses many different learning styles. So we have video content, we have transcripts if you would prefer to read it, as well as quizzes, and we even have deliverables that can help you see what some of the stuff that we're talking about is supposed to look like and how you can get started in your own organization. So I find it to be a very helpful tool. I really wish that I had something like this when I first started out in data governance, because it would have been so helpful. But we have it for you guys. Let's see, some other resources that we had wanted to touch on today is I like going to Dataversity webinars. So those are really good. It's just dataversity.net whenever I see one, I scoop one up. And then we also have articles on places like the Data Administration Network, newsletter. And bonus points if you can find the articles by Sharad on here. So we'll be adding those up at the end of the live stream. I'm just kidding. Alrighty. And then we also have like a ton of other stuff. So we even have a podcast, which is The Data's Edge. There are tons of books. Theresa had mentioned a few of those. If you would like to shout out any more, Theresa, feel free to do so.
I've got a bookcase here.
Maybe just a couple, not the whole bookcase.
I enjoyed reading Selling Information Governance to the Business by Sunil Soares. I think that he presented some really good ideas and inspired a lot of thought. Infonomics is another one that I learned a lot from. And other than that, I read a lot of CDO books, The CDO Journey and Surviving CDO-dom, things like that. So yeah, there's plenty to read.
The one book is I read 4 times is Dhamma book.
Oh yeah, everybody's got to have that.
It's a Bible. Have all the things. It's complex. It's difficult to understand, but this have every information you need.
It's never very far away.
I would say. Yeah, So Theresa have a printed copy.
It's a little overwhelming at first.
It's low. Do not read that the first one, but if you really want to go into this career, if you read this, then you know every part of it. It's a lot of information in this also repeated a couple of times. They kind of repeat themselves.
Yeah.
They like, it's kind of like, I don't know how they played this, but it's like, okay, you can read the 4th chapter by itself. It also is a book.
Yes. It's not a cover to cover read, but it does a really great job of showing you the inputs and the how you contribute to and draw from data governance. So yeah. Definitely.
So that's another one.
Right.
Yeah.
Start at the academy and then graduate to Tom.
I do want to mention the academy is free. All you need is an
Mm.
email address, and they're very short videos, so you can check it out, watch a video every morning when you log into work while you're having your first cup of coffee, and then you're good to go. So it's not an academy like, it's going to tie up 6 hours of your day. It's very, very palatable.
Absolutely. And not to mention, if we do need some more bite-sized chunks, we also have a blog on ovaledge.com/blog.
Yeah.
So those are much more smaller, just hitting topics in data governance, and they're very informative as well. Bonus points if you've read the entire blog, like I did when I first started here.
Cool. You can also find our YouTube channel, so where we have uploaded our chunks of bits of all these podcasts and stuff. And yeah, before winding up, we have some questions from the viewers. Maybe we can take a few.
Oh, yes.
David is asking, I'm curious what we see as potential roles to aspire to when you are already doing data governance.
Mm.
I can take this question.
Good
I think
one.
that one of the role to become the CDO, Chief Data Officer, is that you need to do data governance some point of time in your career. It's very easy to aspire to be CDO, and because it's the CDO job is generally people graduate from two areas, either the VP of analytics or the people who do the data governance people. But if you have a BI role and then you go into the data governance, that means you have covered all aspect of it and you are ready to become a CDO in any organization. So that's again, after CDO, early on, if you see that around, I would say that 20 years back, never the CFO used to become the CEOs, then the CFO used to become CEOs. Now they're becoming. But 10 years from down the line, you will see in many organizations, CDOs may become a CEO as well, because the organization will become very, very data driven, right? That's what it is happening, because AI, ML is going to transform a lot of industries shifting. Of course, it will not happen in the case of, say, utility company. Utility company will be all about, the electric, for example, electric building company will not be that much data driven. But think about banks, think about the financial institutions. Of course, right now the CFOs are running all the things. But going forward, as much they are growing, the CDOs will become CEOs as well, especially in the financial institutions. But if not financial institutions, they will become like in 10-year time frame. But the technology companies, definitely technology companies, the data is a very, very crucial role in those areas. Think about Tesla, right? It's a half of the data company right now. It's a technology company. Data company is not an automobile company anymore. So as things are shifting, it is the role to go to all the way to the CEO of a larger organization, but the right way to go, because you have a comprehensive overview understanding of this, and that's why the data governance is so important. And also you have the ability to understand the multiple department of a company. That's why you can very easily go up in the chain comparative to the person who have a very narrow view of, oh, I just do the programming and I do the programming part of it. That's the
Yeah. I also want to say, David, if you're a data steward and you are working on the business side, it's a great opportunity for you to lean into the technology and transition over to being a data custodian. And because you're going to have exposure to a lot of SQL code or general code, Python, whatever it be. And it's a great way to break into the technology side of things. If you're a data custodian, it's a great way to break into becoming a system administrator. And if you're a system administrator and you've got a lay of the land, it's a great perspective. And you could also parlay that into data architecture. So there's a lot of different ways that you can maneuver your career through data governance from the various data governance roles.
Yeah, so I think what Teresa is saying is that go from, like, if you are custodian, go to the data steward, or data steward to custodian to administrator, then become a data governance manager, then chief data officer, and then hopefully to the CEO.
the progression.
I'm very passionate. Believe me or not, a lot of my colleagues who was working in the data field actually running their own company now. I know at least 10 people in my organization, which I used to work Hortonworks, have actually led their own organization. Now they're running this CDO. Like they're working in the data field, and it's there. We were kind of early enough to run in this field, know the problem. That's why we were able to take a leap forward, and we move forward into it. Right now our company is not that big, but the market and everybody's telling this that this industry is going to be transformative. We are building something like the ERPs of data, right? That's what we are trying to do. This data governance is going to be like that way. So this industry is going to grow to the level which you and I are not able to understand at this point of time how much. But in I have an understanding from sitting it here is that this industry is growing very, very rapidly and exponentially. And the reason is simple, because until unless you do data governance, your AI cannot happen. AI is ultimately, people want to put a lot of money on AI, and the investment is stopping there.
Yeah.
Why the Tesla cannot drive by itself? Why after the Alexas and something, there's nothing new is coming in AI. It's been 5 years, Alexa is there, right? But it's nothing came up after that. There is a reason that the technology have not matured enough, because the data was not matured. Nothing is, but there is a potential is there. Alexa have shown there is a potential in AI. The only thing is that because the data is very dirty, data is not secure, and that's where the investment is stopping there. If data governance can push high quality data to this one, then suddenly the flood of innovation will happen in the area. And as soon as we find some innovations, then you see that a lot of industry will start flourishing because of the data.
That's really
You
great.
were making me nervous saying the A word because she's right there.
Ooh, then we will go on to another question then. How about this one from Michael Weaver? What does an average week look like for someone in a data governance role? I think that would be very insightful.
Theresa, you want to take this?
Sure. It's exciting. In a data governance role, I need to pick a specific role. I will just say a data governance manager. You're really managing the roadmap for data governance for the organization. You're spinning up data governance committees, communicating with your data owners so that they all are understanding what the overall data strategy is, and that everything that they do on their respective committees is going to lean into that strategy and supercharge where we're going. And what I mean by that is if somebody's bringing in report requests, we're going to move it towards self-service goals, and we're going to supercharge the self-service instead of continuing to make reports. You'll be connecting with the data stewards and helping them understand the tool, what data stewardship is, helping them perform analysis and things like that, building out your library of data assets, your consumable layer of data assets, and understanding the challenges and solving those riddles. There's communication plans, and you're also working with the administrators on whatever data governance tool you have, and what are the upgrades and what are the new functionality. What kind of training and outreach can we do? So as a data governance manager, it's really exciting and diverse. There's a lot of things a lot of plates that you're spinning to pull that data governance all together in an organization. If you've matured your organization in data governance, what you're looking to do is have data governance at the inception of IT projects and application purchases, so that we understand and we can start curating that data at the beginning, now that we've caught up on all the terms we're currently using and we've solved a lot of the need for data governance in the first place. Now we want to make sure that if a new report goes to production, that we've enveloped that report with the extended metadata. We know who wrote it. We know what decisions are being made based on that information. We have validated all of the terms that are on there and curated the underpinnings of the report. So it's pretty diverse and exciting, and that goes for every position.
Wonderful.
And to those who are asking resources for Academy, you can find the links in the comment section itself.
Very nice. Lovely. We probably have enough time for maybe 2 more questions. So let's see. Shahid asks, as of now, do you recommend data governance as a career for someone who is beginning their journey in IT?
I'm having a good time, and yes, I would recommend it. I think it's diverse. If you're in IT and it depends on your personality and what your goals are, what your passions are. If you're somebody that likes to go head down, hands on keyboard code, there's a value to that, and so that's definitely something that you can leverage. If you're somebody that likes to do a lot of different things, that you love communicating and talking with people, you're good at documentation, absolutely, I would say that if you're looking to extend and grow your skills in multiple areas, that it would be a good way to start your journey in IT.
Provided you are really good at communication as well as and you are ready to become a communication expert as well. Communication is the key aspect of the data, is one of the key aspect of the data governance. So do the technologies, so do the business aspect of it. But I think definitely if you are starting a career in IT, data governance is I think it can give you a little bit early boost to your career because you have the ability to communication as well as IT together. Because if you are a developer only in the say in development area as you're developing application, you only have expertise around the development. But if you do the development, if you become a data custodian, for example, and doing the development, and you are also helping data steward how to write things, and you're also helping in the communication plan in that area, then this definitely will help you to advance your career much more quicker and faster because you have a good communication skills also on top of the IT skills.
Absolutely.
I think we have one more question from Sarah. Is there a difference between how data governance is applied in industry and how it should be approached in research institutions?
Good one.
I think Sarah is a PhD, so we can see that why it is. I think that everywhere, if you see that when the research paper comes up, when it's applied in the industry, is different. Means I have not seen a research paper exactly applied in the industry, and this is I think the first thing we saw, and when Teresa was mentioning is that when talk about the Teresa was coming with a practical implementation. I was doing the bottoms up approach. I was doing like how the reports are need to be utilized, and I was looking into that. While the research institution thinks it's like, oh, let's write the policies and do that, right? So that is the I think that's how the difference it is. Academia is mostly around, okay, let's do the right way. This is how the right way is, but practicalities have nuances in the detail, and that's generally the academia is not able to get to those details because they are not directly involved in the day-to-day process of it, and that's where the practical approach of the industry is different, and at this point of time it's quite different. Means multiple organizations using the data governance, and I have so many customers, and we have, I don't know, Teresa, if you have seen it, like to do exactly the same way.
No.
With so many customers we have, right? So it's always you will see that it's always differentiation, but academia always generally create one business paper. This is how to do the data governance. So I have seen it's how different it is because of the details. The details have a lot of nuances, and then small things. Just like, for example, like we take a very simple example. Okay, the academic says that, okay, we need to find the most critical assets and we need to do that. But how do we find the most critical assets? Right? That's a practical problem. And then we say, okay, go research it. And believe me or not, go if you find people what is the most critical asset. So whoever use the asset, oh, I use this asset, this is the most critical. So whatever your sample size is not going to give you the right information if you are using that approach. So this is the way that the academia thinks differently. Then, but the practicality is that you can use a tool kind of to find the research scope. We can kind of analyze all things together. So those are the details are always missing in academics, because you're thinking from the conceptual and the whiteboard point of view, and then how you should do it kind of point of view. That's my answer. Leslie, you want to extend it some?
For me, when working with research institutions, the challenge oftentimes is that you're getting your data from external sources and integrating that information to a single understanding. So the challenge is really getting that data from the source so that it means what they sent it to you, and that communication and wrapping around. A lot of data governance for those types of fields are going to be highly dependent on the data mapping and the data ingestion before the research is done. And really the research, the data science, the analytics, and the where the consumers are ingesting the data, that is what we strive for, is giving you that platform where you can then do your research and make a solid decision, knowing that you've got a high degree of literacy and confidence in what your research was based on.
Very, very nice. I do think that we are starting to come up on time today. So thank you so much, Sharad and Theresa, for joining us and just giving us a peek into that extreme wealth of knowledge that both of you have been able to experience over your careers. And also thank you, viewers, for coming to watch us today. So we do hope that you have a nice day, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Kayla and Yasri.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Section itself. Thank you.